morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. Well, Megan Boswell, who'd have thought that we'd be back talking about her? If you remember, back in February of this year, I covered her trial. She was convicted of the murder of her little baby daughter, Evelyn. Absolutely horrendous crime. Horrendous. And in Tennessee, the jury gets a say in murder cases as to what will happen to the defendant. And the jury deliberated and decided that Megan Boswell should get life, but with the possibility of parole after 51 years. And that seemed to all have been done and dusted. However, for those of you who listen to the small print, there's a whole bunch of other charges that Megan Boswell was convicted of. There was a whole bunch of them, like lying to cops and concealing a body, and there's a whole host. I think it was 19. Yeah, 19 charges total. So today, in about 15 minutes, 18 minutes time, Megan will be sentenced for the whole host of other charges. So she's got her life in prison for the murder, but now we get to see whether Megan will go down for absolute life. And this sentencing hearing was meant to happen back in May, right? The trial was in February. But this case has drug on for years. So it seems quite fitting, actually, one last time for this sentencing hearing to be delayed. But delayed it was. So today's the day. And the prosecution are lobbying the judge to make all of the sentences consecutive, like put them all together one after another, rather than what is more usual in a murder case is that the lesser charges they're adjudicated, but they serve the sentence concurrently, so at the same time. So in Megan's case, if everything was running concurrently, then it will be 51 years because the biggest sentence is 51 years. So she'll serve 51 years. All of the other stuff will have been done concurrently, and she'll be in her 60s when she has 70s. Yeah, 70s. In a few minutes, 70s, when she has the possibility of parole. But the prosecution want all of the sentences to be served consecutively, so there's no way that Megan will be able to outlive all of those sentences, all of those many years. She won't be able to outlive it. It'll just, unless she lives an unnaturally long life, which I doubt she will. So that's what we're going to find out today as to what Judge Goodwin is going to do with Megan Boswell long term. Now, she is in state prison, so she remains there basically for the rest of her life. So whatever happens today, we know she's going to be a very old lady before there's any possibility whatsoever of parole. I don't think that she should have possibility of parole. I think she should have got the death penalty. The death penalty wasn't on the table in this case because of how young Megan was when she committed the horrendous murder of baby Evelyn. But such is life. Hold on, let me plug a charger in, or else you're gonna lose me. Just a sec. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with this plug socket. There we go. God, you need all your strength to plug that in that socket. I don't know what's going on. All right, so that's what we're here for. And I've got the court feed up in the background. But I'm going to say a few hellos before we get going. And it's been a while. How long has it been since I was last live? I had to stop doing lives for a little while because I had a really bad cough. It was allergy season. Like August is always bad for me with allergies. I've got like pollen allergy. I'm bad in the spring, like April. April, May. And then I get bad again in August. I'm only allergic to certain pollens. So August is bad. And I think we're over the worst now. And I think we're okay. So I think it's been like 3 weeks, 4 weeks since I last did a live stream. Can't really remember, but I'm sure that some of you can remind me. I'm going to say a couple of hellos. Oh, thank you. I got a super chat there. Hold on. Thank you so much, Christina, for the $9.99. Thank you. If you want to go back and watch the trial, and it is on this channel, the whole trial is on this channel. We watched it all together, and it's brutal. It's brutal, absolutely brutal what she did to baby Evelyn. Awful. Like, just put her upside down in the trash and then hid the bin that she put her in, the trash can that she put her in this old playhouse that she used to play in on her dad's property. And it took them weeks to find baby Evelyn. They eventually did find baby Evelyn. She told a lot of lies, which is where some of her charges have come from. She said that baby Evelyn had been taken by somebody and she was doing all of these interviews with the press and she was all smiley and happy. And, oh, it's horrible. The cops, I think, knew from the jump that she was lying. I think everybody knew that she was lying. You know, we've got some cases now where we absolutely know the parents are lying. You know, we've had Jaden Spicer recently in Kentucky. We've had, ongoing at the moment, we've got Emmanuel Haro from California, whose body hasn't been found, but his parents have been arrested for his murder. These people just are absolutely horrific. All right, I'm going to say a couple of hellos. Italy in the house. Because of you, I knew about the case. Appreciate you. You do a great job. Often forget about your channel. Oh, no, don't forget about my channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you're not subscribed, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please do so. Because it will mean that you can speak in the chat, but also it will be one subscription more towards my 100k goal. And there's nothing in it for me to get to 100k. It's something I think all YouTubers want to get to, 100k, because YouTube sends you a silver play button plaque that you can put on your wall. I want the play button plaque. Come on, help me out. It's completely free. Just click the subscribe button. Holly, been a member for 32 months. OG of the OGs. Hello, Jackie. Yeah, hit the like. That just helps with the algorithm. But more importantly, hit the subscribe. Hello, down under with love, who's been a member for 35 months. Almost 3 years. That's crazy. Hello, Litlock No More. We got Cassie. What is she being sentenced for this time? I've already answered that, so hopefully you heard that. Everything else. She's being sentenced for everything else. Hello, Pearl. We got Jaina. We got Cute Penguin. We got Dawn. We got Pen 10. We got... Who else have we got? Oh, it's the case that brought you to true crime. Oh, wow. Trying to think about the case that brought me to true crime. Probably, I've always been interested in crime, but I think actually following true crime, actually following a case, I think it would have been Madeleine McCann, I think. Yeah, Holly's in Sullivan County. So this case is out of Sullivan County, out of Blounteville in Tennessee, not too far away from Summer Wells, honestly, just over the county line from Summer Wells. We got Bug Love. I think a lot of people found my channel through the Summer Wells case, which is obviously still ongoing. Summer has not been found. Summer is now 9 years old. She's been missing for over 4 years now. We got Bug Love, who's going to be on the replay crew. Journey Takes a Trip. Hello, Leslie. 3 a.m. Oh, have you not been to bed yet, or have you got up really early? But I agree, sleep is for the weak. Hello, Sherry. We got Eileen, Aqua, We got Peter, Thunderhorse, Purple, AJ, good morning to you. We got Charlotte, we got Mimi, Fat Lady Channel, Trio Girl Mom. We got a few people in now, All right. And we got Christina been a member for 35 months. Justice for baby Evelyn. Absolutely, completely agree. CW been a member for 23 months. One more month and you get your OG. One more month and you get your OG badge. Right, let's see if there's got any more members' messages. Purple Edge, member for 46 months. I think you've got to be. I think you and there's one other person who have been a member for like the longest time, like going on for like 4 years. So you have to be one of my oldest members. 46 months. That's insane. That's crazy. Crazy. Daughter of Scotland, I think, has been a member for 4 years. I think she's going to be my oldest member, if she's still a member. Not seen her for a minute. You got CC, member for 24 months. You got your OG badge. Well done, CC. Whoop, whoop. You got your OG badge. You got Mummy of Huskies, member for 3 whole years. Justice for baby Evelyn. Absolutely. Krista, thank you so much for the $49.99. You are incredibly generous. I can't thank you enough for your support. And it's great when I get donations. It's not required, but I do welcome every single donation. Obviously, it does help me out a little. But if you can't afford it, the best thing you can do is subscribe to the channel if you're not done so already. Get your friends, your family, share the videos so that we get a few more people in. Help me get up to that 100k. And then I can stop going on about it every single video. I can stop going on about it. If you want me to stop going on about it, then help me out. Share the videos, share the channel, and hopefully then I can rest on my laurels. All right, we're getting Court TV up here, ready, and we're waiting to go. Got the sound on. Court feed's not up yet. We've got 6 minutes before the court feed is up. Hey, we got some memberships donated here. Thank you so much. Right, thank you so much. You've got Purple AJ gifted 10 memberships. Thank you. Let's have a look. We got Dawn, we got Moonshadow, Jaina. Oh, is it going to let me scroll back? Thunderhorse, Minky, Robert, Multi, Brad, Abby. I think that's it. I may have missed one actually. Like it scrolled. But welcome. And if you're not, or you haven't been a member before, go and check out the members area. The members actually have been privy to a bit of news. Members, don't tell anyone. Like, it's exclusive just to you guys at the moment. But in one more week, and a brand new thing will be unveiled on this channel. So the members already know what I'm talking about. So don't put it in the chat. Don't give anybody any clues. I want it to be a complete surprise. And it's going to be great. So in a week's time, actually next Saturday, the 13th of September, I will be making an announcement and unveiling a brand new thing for this channel. You're going to love it. But if you're a member, you already know what I'm talking about. So if you've never been a member before and you've just been gifted a membership by the wonderful Purple AJ, then go and check it out, because I put a new video up this morning about the new thing. I'm not giving any clues away. You can get the thumb screws out. You can put me on the rack. You can do as much torture as you want. I'm not going to give you any clues because it's going to be so good, so brilliant. I cannot wait. So it's really hard to hold it in. But I am going to hold it in for another week. Paper Chaser knows what I'm talking about. Been a member for 34 months. Can't wait. Paper Chaser knows what I'm talking about. Yay. Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, I'm going to change the subject in case I inadvertently say something I shouldn't. All right. I feel I need to put a banner up. I've not got a banner for. I delete my banners when something's happened. Okay, I'm gonna have to make a new banner. Okay, so TNV Megan Boswell sentencing. Let me just double check that I spelt it right. Yeah, I did, I think. All right, here we go. Oh, banner going. There we go. All right, we're all done. We're all ready. We're all waiting. We're all done. We're all ready. We're all waiting. But how is everybody? Glad to see me live again. Yeah, it's difficult when it's allergy season. It's difficult. Like, it's easy to do recorded videos because if I'm coughing and sneezing, it doesn't matter. I just edit them out. But when you're live, you can't edit out coughs and sneezes. You just have to grin and bear it. So it probably doesn't sound good when you're either coughing and sneezing, doesn't sound good, or muting every 2 seconds. So it's just easier when it's allergy season not to go live and just wait for the allergies to pass. I'm on heavy duty antihistamines. Like, I'm on antihistamines that, that are stronger than you can get in the pharmacy. I have prescribed antihistamines because I've got so many different allergies. But the antihistamines do great. They're fantastic. It's just two times a year when the pollen in the air overtakes. Because I live so near fields as well. The pollen in the air overtakes the antihistamines, so they can't cope, and then I end up suffering. Pollen. It's grass. I'm not allergic to flowers or trees. It's grass pollen that does me. So we grin and bear it. That's all we can do. We've not got long now. We should be going live shortly. Anytime now. So for those just logging on and wanting to know what all of this is about, Megan Boswell was convicted of the first-degree murder of baby Evelyn, who you can see on your screen there. She was just 16 months old when she was murdered. Back in 2019, it took so long for this case to get to trial. And it did eventually go to trial February of this year. And Megan was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 51 years, immediately after the conviction. However, because she's got so many other charges, she had 19 charges total, then the judge has to come back and do a full sentencing hearing. So although we know she's going to be in state prison for 51 years at least, what we don't know is whether the prosecution is going to get their way so that all of the other lesser charges that the judge is going to describe and comment on today, whether that will take her up to absolute life with absolutely no possibility of parole. That's what the judge has to decide. That's what the prosecution wants. So for that 51 years, once that 51 years is up, well, she's got a whole bunch of other sentences to start. And if the judge awards all of those sentences consecutively, like one after another, then Megan will never, ever see freedom again. Whereas if he does the lesser charges concurrent to the murder charge, then there is that possibility of her getting parole when she's a very old lady. She'll be in her 70s, 51 years. She's in her 20s now. So she'll be in her 70s when she has that possibility of parole. But it would be nice to know, I think it would be nice for everyone in that community to know that Megan Boswell never has the chance of walking free ever again. And she can just go and rot in prison. She should have got the death penalty for what she did. But because of Megan's age, she was only 18, the death penalty was taken off the table because of her age. Amanda, been a member for 41 months. She does. She makes me sick as well. She's just one of the ones that, even when you look at her, like her smug face, she makes me feel sick. It's she gives me that same visceral reaction that Leilani Simon gives me. She's another one. You know, she could, because she's so young and you know, she's quite pretty, and you just think, what is lying behind those eyes? You know, you just a young woman, and what have you done? What have you done to your baby? It gives you that real visceral reaction. I don't know whether it is to do with the fact that it's a young woman, or whether it's to do with the fact that these people are just completely smug and thought they could just get away with it and lie to people. I don't know what it is, or whether it's a combination. But yeah, there's a few that just make me react, like internally react when I see them. And I know, why are they doing this? I know. We seem to be getting more and more people who hurt their kids. I don't know whether it is that we're getting more and more, or whether we're just all really sensitive to it. You know, because the internet is truly global, that we hear about cases that we probably never hear of, you know, pre-internet. And given that we're all in the true crime community, and we're looking at these cases, we're looking for new cases, we're following cases, and it seems that there's a hell of a lot of people who hurt their children and then try to lie and get away with it. You know, we've had Jayton Spicer recently from Kentucky, whose mother and stepfather have been arrested for his murder. We've got the Emmanuel Haro, the little baby, who's just 7 months old, when cops believe he was murdered by his mother and father. And that's ongoing. Baby Emmanuel's body has not been found. There was some rumours going around, maybe 2 days ago, was it yesterday or the day before, that his body had been found, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Like, there's not been no official announcement or anything like that. I think it was just rumours. There was rumours a week or so back that his body had been found, and that proved not to be the case. So as far as we know, baby Emmanuel's body has not yet been found over there in California. And yeah, there's horrendous cases that go on in my country as well. It's just everywhere you turn. But again, I don't know whether it is more, or whether it's just that we're attuned to it, where we're looking for it. And, you know, we see everything. Come on. We're officially late by 5 minutes now. No, we're still late. Still late. What's going on here? Why has it done that? Why has it done that? That's weird. What's it done? How bizarre. It's like only giving me half a screen. There we go. That's better. That's better. Oh, yeah. The camera guy. Oh, dear. Judge Goodwin. Judge Goodwin was furious with the cameras, and it was Court TV, actually. Angie Baby, member for 25 months. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Last time, day one of the trial, if you were there, day one of the trial, Judge Goodwin gave the camera crew a stern ticking off for taking photographs during the trial, because the flash was interrupting him, which I truly understand. You know, if you're flashing a camera every 2 seconds, then it's not good, is it? And then, I think even worse, at one point in the trial, they accidentally filmed the jury coming in. which was pretty shocking. Judge Gubbin was fuming at that. So hopefully they have all the cameras. So obviously it's a sentencing hearing, so there's no jury. So the camera crew, I think, can relax a little bit. That they're not going to inadvertently film anything they shouldn't be filming. But Judge Goodman, I can't remember how good his timekeeping was. I think he was reasonably good at timekeeping, if I remember rightly. But these things do tend to, you know, if Judge Goodwin's got another thing on, maybe this morning, that's overrun a little bit. So it's currently 25 to 2 in the afternoon in Sullivan County, Tennessee. So if Judge Goodwin has had something going on in the morning and then he's had a late lunch, then it's going to be a little late starting. Little Bear Paws, member for 25 months. All these OGs, loads of them. All of you OGs, all of you members who know the secret. No, I've got to remind myself again. No. Change the subject. Pre-internet, I'd only hear about these cases if they were local. Yeah, me too. I mean, I guess occasionally, if like the national news picks up on an international case, then we hear about it. But it'd be very unlikely pre-internet that us here in the UK would have ever heard of Megan Boswell or Leilani Simon or Jaden Spicer or Summer Wells. We just wouldn't have heard about them. So all of those things are because of the internet. Stardust Shorty, member for 34 months. A mega OG, yeah. I'm going to have to do a mega OG badge. Definitely. So everybody, if you've been a member for 24 months, you get your OG badge and then that sticks with you. But I'm going to do a mega OG and a super OG so that we can maybe do 36 months and then 48 months. I can do that. I just need to remember to do that. It's 1838, so 20 to 7 almost here in the UK. So it's not an antisocial time for us in the UK. Phenomenal. 25 months. Finally made it to OG. You made it to OG last month. So you're now a month into your OG. Would love a new mega OG badge. I just need to remember to do it. But you'd be a mog. Right, mega OG. You'd be a mog. People will be like, what does mog mean? Oh no, Broken Gothel turning 60 in 20 days. 60 is the new 30. You'd be getting your second wind. That's what I'm telling myself anyway, because I'm not I'm not long before I'm at that milestone as well. Not long to go. Always got wind. That's Tilly. Tilly's always got wind. She's very gassy, is Tilly. It's all the crap she eats, though. It's just so greedy. It's going up to small people bedtime, so I hope this judge shows up soon. Small people bedtime. Have I seen Purple AJ recently? Yes, she's been in the chat. She gifted 10 memberships earlier on. So yeah, Purple AJ is here. She's with us. She's just posted. There's Purple AJ. So yeah, she's absolutely with us. Kelly's watching me from Australia. Got quite a few Australians who watch this channel. Quite a few. I've got a lot of Canadian followers now because of the Lily and Jack case. But I have covered a few cases in Canada. But I've had a little influx of Canadian followers because Lily and Jack's case, right at the beginning of the case, was really big. Like it blew up. Not so much now, but that's another case. What on earth happened? Don't know what on earth happened. Come on, Judge Goodwin, hurry up. Get this show on the road. Oh, I hear it. Do you hear it? Sound check. You hear the talking in the background? Let's do a quick sound check. Just give me a yes. They've not turned the camera on, but we've got sound from the courtroom. Yeah. Okay. Once they turn the camera on, then I will mute my mic so you don't get any background noise from me. Well, I'll cover the Suzanne Morphew trial. I will, if it's televised. If it's televised. That's another one that we've been waiting for such a long time. But the first time around, when Bobcat Barry was facing trial, they weren't going to televise it. But obviously now we've got a second bite of the apple, so if they televise it. All right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, we've got a different judge. Oh, no, that's just a court reporter. I was thinking that was the judge.
This case will take up the state versus Megan Boswell, 72869. Long debate for sentencing.
There she is. All right, muting out.
There was a pre-sentence report filed April the 4th, 2025. A jury convicted Ms. Boswell of first-degree murder in count 1, first-degree murder and perpetration of felony in counts 2 and 3. The jury sentenced her to life. The jury also convicted her in count 4 of aggravated child abuse, count 5 aggravated child neglect, count 6 tampering with evidence, count 7 through 17 false report, count 19 abuse of corpse, count 20 failure to report the death under suspicious, unusual, or unnatural circumstances. So we're here on counts 4 through 20 for sentencing today. Is the state ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Defense ready to proceed?
Yes, yes.
Because sentencing, the first thing that's up, the state has to vote.
Judge, how are you going to handle the pre-sentence report that we made?
Because of the nature of this case, it's going to be exhibit number 1. I normally don't make any exhibit, but I think in this case.
Fine. Thanks, Judge.
Somebody have a copy of it? It's not been marked up? And if you don't, I've got it in the file. I just got to find it. Which file it's in?
Judge, we have a clean copy.
General, the state having approved.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would call Sheriff Jeff Cassidy.
Raise your hand, state your name, please.
Sheriff Jeff Cassie.
Solemnly swear upon testimony about to give you the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth.
Tell the court your name and where you're employed.
Jeff Cassie, Sheriff of Sullivan County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the sheriff's office?
Been with them a total of 29 years. This is my 7th year as sheriff.
Okay, and so that means you were sheriff in 2020 during the time of this investigation, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm gonna take you back to February 2020. Was Sullivan County the first agency to be involved in the investigation of missing child Evelyn Boswell?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me briefly how Sullivan County how the investigation started?
Missing a child at first, and then once we found out that the last time the baby was saw was in December, we knew he was already behind the curve there. We was probably 2 months away from utilizing the resources that we needed to rescue or recover a baby Evelyn.
Okay. How old were you told Evelyn was the time the investigation began?
15 months.
Okay. What was your role in the investigation?
Of course, as a lead agency, I always stay in contact and communication with all my detectives and everybody that was responded to this scene and responded to all the tips across pretty much the region. So, I was constantly in communication with TBI, FBI, and my detectives.
Okay. If you had to give an approximate number, how many Sullivan County employees do you think were tasked with working this investigation?
Aside from my executive staff, which is about 14, we had probably an additional 40 worked around the clock just on this case.
Okay. When you say around the clock, was there 24/7 coverage
Yes, ma'am.
of this? And are we talking about from the date she was reported missing until the day that she was found?
Yes, ma'am.
It's approximately 18 days.
Yeah, from about February 18th to March 6th, I looked through our records, and just overtime hours alone on this case was 740 hours.
Okay. And that's employees working their regular shifts plus overtime.
Plus overtime.
Okay. So let me ask this first. Did Sullivan County end up requesting the assistance from other agencies?
Yeah, this was a unique case. Normally we work most cases on our own, but we had to pull resources from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Virginia State Police, SBI.
What is the SBI?
State Bureau of Investigation, and then we had Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, and then multiple local regional jurisdictions up in North Carolina and other states in Middle Tennessee.
Okay. And is that essentially from following tips that were coming in?
Yeah, anything that came through, we followed every lead, try to look into everything that was brought to the VCC, which is the Virtual Command Center through Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
And is the virtual command center, that's where the tips would come in to decide how to then send them back out to be investigated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. With these different agencies and with Sullivan County, what types of resources were you able to, what did you utilize to try to find this baby?
We utilized every resource that I've ever even been involved in that was at our disposal. I mean, we took jets to different places to expedite the finding of any type of information that may lead to the recovery of Evelyn. We utilized everything the TBI and FBI provided us with, just anything that was at our disposal. We probably used more resources for this than anything I can ever remember.
We know that one of the stories, false reports that the defendant gave was that a person by the name of Ethan Perry had Evelyn. What did you have to do in regards to following that lead? What resources were used?
Yeah, he was in the military in Louisiana, from what I remember, and we had to send some detectives up there as well.
Okay. And we know another story that she gave was that she kept hinting at Mendota, Virginia, over and over. Is that a lead that you also use resources to follow?
Yeah, United States Marshal, I left that out. United States Marshals helped us out on that one in Mendota.
Okay. She also told you that Angela Boswell, her mother, had Evelyn at some point. Did you follow that lead?
Yes, we worked extensively on that one. We thought that she may have had custody of baby Boswell, so we that went into North Carolina, and I think the dive team went into the ponds over there as well.
Okay. So in preparation for today's hearing, you were asked to review Sullivan County records regarding this investigation. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the records that you reviewed, were they all maintained by the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am. Just the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office.
And the purpose of those was to come up with the manpower that was used
Yes, ma'am.
to get an approximate amount of manpower and overtime hours. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What if the defendant had told the truth on day one?
Yeah,
Objection calls for speculation.
I could ask you a different way. Would you have found Evelyn if the defendant had told the truth on day one?
Objection
Yes.
calls for speculation.
Sustained. Yeah, it needs to be phrased. Too wrong.
If you had known that Evelyn was dead on day one, would that have changed the way you conducted your investigation?
absolutely.
Okay. Would all of these resources have been used?
No, ma'am.
Were you aware of community involvement during the time of this investigation, the 18 days of investigation?
Yeah, extremely. They really provided us a lot of additional resources that not criminal justice related, just like they brought us food to the office so we could, eat and still work. And they all pulled together during that time and just showed tremendous outpouring of support for our entire agency. And, across the nation, really, this was a national recognized case. So the people around here in the community, they started Evelyn's Army, and they provided food for us daily.
Based on your own personal observations, what did the impact on the community look like to you?
Very emotional, just like my staff. I mean, everything you see, people wanted to find this baby, and that was their number one goal. And, whatever it may take, whatever it may need, whatever resource may need to be utilized, everybody was willing and able to put in their time, effort, and energy to locate baby Evelyn. And, just like my staff, I mean, the emotional toll on them, the lack of sleep, but they never did get fatigued. I tried to send some home, and they said, no, I'm not going home. I'm going to work on this case until we find the baby.
Okay. No other questions? Please
Thank
answer
you.
any questions Mr. Scott has for you.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
State would call, take the math class. You're Matt Price, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What is your position at the sheriff's department?
I'm lieutenant in criminal investigations.
And Lieutenant Price, you very familiar with the investigation involving the disappearance and death of Evelyn Boswell, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What was your role in the investigation?
This case was assigned to me as the lead investigator with the sheriff's office. So I was the lead investigator.
And you worked, the sheriff has testified to, you worked hand in hand with numerous agencies in the investigation, including TBI, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. David Gratz at the time, also two of you
Worked it.
worked extensively with them, is that
Yes.
correct? You familiar with the evidence that was collected in the case, the discovery of the body of the victim, Evelyn Boswell?
Yes.
Lieutenant Price, I'm going to hand you some photographs. I'm just going to do this one at a time so for the sake of getting these exhibits in. I'm going to hand you the first photograph, ask you if you can show us, identify what's shown in that photo.
Yes, this is a photograph of looking inside the playhouse at the trash can where Evan was located.
And is that a true and accurate depiction of
Yes.
that scene?
Okay.
Judge Woody moved to make that exhibit number one to this hearing, two, I'm sorry. And I don't know if it's helpful, but that is what the trial was introduced as exhibit number 15. If that's helpful or would create confusion or.
It's just, it'll be exhibit one from that sentence.
Two. you recognize what's shown in the photographs just to hand it to you?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Again, this is looking inside the playhouse at the trash can after the one of the bags had been moved off the top.
Okay. Is there anything of significance that you see as you look at the trash can itself?
Yes, it appears that the items inside the trash can have been compressed.
Judge, we would make that exhibit 3 for this hearing. Okay. Lieutenant Price, would you take a look at the photographs being handed to you and ask, or again, ask if you can identify what's shown?
Yes, this is a picture of the inside the trash can with the blanket removed where you can see baby Evelyn's leg.
Is that the first shot or first, I guess,
Yes.
discovery of the body?
It is correct.
Judge, we would make that exhibit 4 to this hearing. You recognize what's shown in that photograph?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the trash bag that was inside the trash can where baby Evelyn was located, and also the child is with the aluminum foil and the blanket is laying beside the trash bag.
So the body has been removed from the trash.
Correct.
bag.
The body's been removed from the trash bag. It's in the trash bag with trash in it. Baby Evelyn is laying there wrapped in blankets and aluminum foil wrapped around her.
Judge, we would move to make that exhibit 5 this hearing. Do you recognize what is shown in the photographs that's been handed to you?
Yes, I do.
And what is that? Picture of it.
This is the body of baby Evelyn after she was removed from the trash can, placed inside of a body bag. She's lying there with blankets wrapped around her and aluminum foil wrapped around where her head area was.
Judge, we would make that exhibit 6 to this hearing. You recognize the photo that's just been handed to you?
Yes, I do.
What is shown in that photo?
And this is baby Evelyn laying in, still wrapped in blankets laying on a body bag, with her arm exposed, showing the onesie that she was wearing.
Is that photo, that one of the photos that's taken at the time the body was recovered?
It is correct.
Judge, we would move to make that exhibit 7 for this hearing. Lieutenant Price, do you recognize what's shown in that photo?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is baby Evelyn after the blankets and aluminum foil have been removed from her body. It shows the position of her head and how she was laying when the blanket was removed.
Judge, we move to make that exhibit 8 for this hearing. Finally, Lieutenant Price, give you one more photo and ask you to identify that photograph, please.
Yes, I can. This is a picture of Evelyn, one of the last known pictures. We know that when she was alive.
Judge, we could make that exhibit number now at this hearing. Thank you, Lieutenant Price. If you would answer any questions Mr. Scott has for you.
No questions, Judge.
That's all the evidence.
Judge, if possible, I'd like to make an allocation.
I would just like to say that the state of Tennessee treated me very unfair during this whole investigation. And had I had a fair trial and an impartial jury, I would have been acquitted of the murder charges. I would have never hurt my baby, and I did not kill Evelyn. That's all.
No, sir.
I'm sorry. Judge, the state has, prior to this hearing, filed a notice of intent in regards to enhancing factors that we believe apply, as well as a notice of intent to seek consecutive sentencing, which is what we are asking the court to do. And we believe, based upon the seriousness of the offense, as well as the fact that Ms. Boswell is a dangerous offender whose behavior indicates little, no regard for human life. She had no hesitation about committing a crime in which the risk of human life was high. This court should run those sentences consecutive to each other. And I want to touch briefly on the enhancement factors, and primarily on the one that I think just screams out in this case, which is a violation of trust. Truly, I think the facts that were involved in this case, and the court, of course, consider everything that was presented and that came in trial, as well as the photographs that have been introduced to the sentencing hearing, which again, those were all part of the trial evidence as well. But the trust that Miss Boswell betrayed upon her daughter was just so callous. She chose herself repeatedly, time and time again, over her child. All deaths are horrible, but for a small child to die in the way that Evelyn died just shows such extreme callousness. And those photographs show you. I mean, she was discarded like a piece of common garbage. Detective Lieutenant Price testified to, it looks like the body has been compressed, pushed down in the trash can, so we can fit more trash, more garbage on top of her child. But probably the most hurtful and severe part of this whole, and painful part of this, is the fact that all that occurred at the hands of the one person that she should have been able to rely upon and trust to protect her. her own mother. But Megan didn't do that. Megan repeatedly chose Megan. Megan chose her life. Megan chose living in the big house out by the lake. Megan chose going to the movies. She chose going to Blowing Rock, going to Gatlinburg, again and again and again, over her own daughter. In order for the court to find that the defendant was a dangerous offender and apply consecutive sentencing, there are two things that the case law has said the court has to find. One is that it relates to the severity of the crime. And I can think of nothing that would be any easier than to relate consecutive sentencing to the facts of this case and what Ms. Boswell did. I mean, not only did she murder her own child and then go about her own life, but then once law enforcement was finally brought into the case, not because of her, not because she did anything, but because it finally got reported by her dad. Well, then she manipulates law enforcement, it manipulates the community by continuing to lie over and over and over again, causing extraordinary resources to have to be involved for weeks trying to find this child in the hopes that she's alive. And then even after that, even after she finally coughs up the fact that her child is dead, she continues to lie about not knowing where she is. When all along, she's sitting there stuffed upside down in a trash can in her childhood playhouse. So I think it's very easy for this court to find that the severity of this crime and her suffocating her own child, putting her in a trash can, and then repeatedly lying about it to cover it up relates to the severity of the crime. The second finding this court has to make is that it was necessary that consecutive sentencing is necessary to protect the public from further crimes. And provided the court, as well as Mr. Scott, with the case of State v. Taylor, which was a case in which a small child had been beaten to death. And then the mother basically delayed in reporting, calling 911, which eventually resulted in the child dying because she didn't receive any medical attention. And the court in that case found that the dangerous offender classification was satisfied because the defendant had demonstrated extreme callousness towards the health and welfare of the victim, and the results were fatal. Well, Judge, I really, it does not get any more callous than what the defendant did in this case. You know, she turned her back, she turned her life, she turned her trust away from her own child. Evelyn got in the way of the life Megan Boswell wanted to live, and so she eliminated that problem. It truly does not get any more callous than that. So the state would submit that both those factors are met and that the court should impose consecutive sentencing. I've already touched on the element as far as trust being involved in the enhancing factor. And then sitting here listening to Ms. Boswell's rather brief allocution, I think it's also right for the court to consider the fact that she sits here today in this courtroom still having absolutely no remorse and taking no responsibility for the death of her child. Once again, she wants to make all of us victims in the case, make herself a victim. She's sheriff's office, I guess, should be issuing an apology to her for the way she's just been unfairly treated during this whole process. Judge, Miss Boswell was not treated unfairly. Her child was treated unfairly. Her 15-month-old child never had a chance because of the one person who should have protected her. So for that reason, the state is asking you to maximize her sentence in the remaining counts that she has to be sentenced on. And we would ask that they be run consecutive, Judge. Thank you.
Judge, I guess I'll try to address this in somewhat the way Mr. Harper did, maybe in the back of his fashion. Ms. Boswell had no prior criminal history when the case started, when the investigation started. At some point, she was convicted of a reckless driving, B misdemeanor in Washington County, I think in February of 2020. That's the only criminal history she comes to this court. She's been in jail since she was 18 years old. She will be in jail if this court were to sentence her at the low end of everything and not run consecutive. She'll be in jail until she's 69 years old. So the court then has to determine, is she, at that point, is she going to be a threat to society? Society needs to be protected from 69-year-old Megan Boswell. The court should, I guess first the court has to consider the length of the sentence. She's a range one offender as to each count. The court should impose I think the sentence is short of a sentence is as necessary, so the court is supposed to be to achieve the purposes of sentencing. Here, she's serving a life sentence. She will be eligible for parole at 69 years old. So how much more do you need? Essentially, the state asks you to sentence her to life without parole. That's what they want. And we have addressed that issue already in a manner of speaking. I guess, practice law 25 years, not the only jury sentencing I've ever done. But the jury had the opportunity, after hearing all these facts, to consider whether to sentence her to life without parole or life with parole. They sentenced her to life with parole. And I know you're not bound by that on these other counts, but I think in fairness and in deference to that jury, we have to give some respect to what determination they made. And they were aware of all the other charges. Obviously, they heard the guilt phase on those and convicted her. So I think that is important to consider that. She's eligible for probation on all the other charges. The court has to make a determination whether or not those sentences should be suspended or served. The court has to make a determination whether, if they are served, how they're served, consecutive or concurrent. As it relates to the dangerous offender who society has to be protected from, I think the case law is quite clear. Not every person convicted of first-degree murder and another felony is going to fall into that category. Normally, in a lot of the cases you see multiple victims, multiple acts. Here, all those things kind of go together. And I guess the other thing we have to talk about is what counts merged together in this sentence. I would suggest, of course, that the murder counts merged together for one count. That the child abuse and child neglect counts should merge. And that all of the following false reports should merge. Because I sent a case to you yesterday. State versus Smith, 436 Southwest 3rd, 751. This is Supreme Court decided that 2014. It talks about cases just like this. Each of these cases, these interviews were basically a continuation of the other interview. And based on the rule of leniency, the court found that even though in that case, interviews were made over multiple days with different officers, just in this case, that they had to merge. And that's what I think should happen here, is all those counts should merge. And I guess finally, I want to address what Mr. Harper said about Ms. Boswell's comments. I think a lot of defendants would probably feel that way. But I think she's entitled to maintain her defense. She doesn't have to come in here for purposes of sentencing or this, and somehow take responsibility. The law doesn't require that. That's not one of the factors to consider for consecutive sentencing. That's not one of the factors to consider for commitment sentence. The defendant has a right to maintain their innocence, and to hold that against them and somehow sentence them to more jail time because they don't come in here and say, I did it. That violates due process. It violates the right to trial by jury, the right to appeal. So I would suggest to the court that the appropriate sentence here should be bottom end of the range. The sentences should run concurrent. And ultimately, she should be left with a chance of parole when she's 69 years old, however that is structured.
Court will be in recess for 15 minutes.
My phone rang. Do you notice how low the volume is now that the attorneys have stopped talking? Gonna mute that. I'll give you a few seconds to turn your volume right back down. It's infuriating. The court mics were really low, and it doesn't help that the attorneys don't talk into the mics, but it's clear that the court volume is fine when the audience is talking. It just suddenly went loud. But I've got the volume here, the input volume, boosted all the way to the max. So there's nothing else I can do, I'm afraid, other than put the CCs on and then just tell people to turn the volume right the ways up. It's really annoying, but, you know, they're not here for us. They're not here to, you know, think about the fact that they're being televised. So we just have to make do. We just have to make do. So we got 15 minutes while Judge Goodwin determines what he's going to do. So the prosecution is hoping that she's never going to get out. And if he gives her consecutive sentences on top of the 51 years she's already got for the murder, then she's never going to see the light of day. The defense wants her to have the possibility of parole after 51 years, which will mean she's a very old lady anyway. But that would mean that the judge would have to do all of the lesser charges and sentence those concurrently. So they'd run with the 51 years. So we've got 15 minutes to wait. Now, somebody in the chat asked about Elijah's case, Elijah Vu. This is little baby Elijah. This is a Wisconsin case, if anybody remembers this case. And what's the latest with him? I have been covering this case. I covered this case when Elijah first went missing. I covered the initial hearings. The man that his mother, Katrina Bauer, was horribly asking to quote unquote discipline Elijah, someone called Jesse Vang, he was arrested. Katrina Bauer, the mother, was arrested. They are both currently going through the system. There has been no outcome on this yet, but I found what I could find was the latest. So this case went down in Two Rivers in Wisconsin in February 2024, when little baby Elijah was reported missing. So I'm going to read this article. It's not a long article. But Katrina Bauer, mother of 3-year-old Elijah Vu, so he was 3 years when he went missing. His remains were eventually found. It took them a long time to find his remains. His remains were skeletal. They had to send the bones off for DNA analysis, and it was determined that the bones were Elijah. So he died at age 3, sadly. She has been offered a plea deal. She's been offered a plea deal that alleges that she was responsible for neglecting her son and obstructing officers in their investigation into his disappearance that was reported on February 20th, 2024. The details of the plea deal are not currently available to the public. She was absent from a status conference in her case on June 13th. She's been charged with felony counts of chronic neglect of a child where the consequence is death and neglecting a second child. She was leaving, she has another child, a daughter. She was leaving this daughter in the vehicle in freezing cold weather while she was having quote unquote romantic trysts with Jesse Vang. So she's also been done for neglecting another child as well. She is in jail right now. She's also been charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of resisting or obstructing an officer, basically because she lied. She knew what had happened to Elijah and she lied. Both the defense and the prosecuting attorneys said that they were still reviewing the substantial amount of evidence and reports in Bauer's case. So a new status conference was set for September 26th. So if that is televised, I will stream that. Wisconsin do tend to televise their stuff. So September 26th, that's the date for your diaries. So that'll be a status conference. So the latest in the case against Katrina Bauer, Elijah Vu's mother. Okay. And then, so skeletal remains were found on September 7th. So reported missing on February 20th. Not found until September. And it was a huge amount of searching that the cops did. They never gave up. But the remains were found, I think, accidentally by someone on private property 3 miles away from where he disappeared, near a house where Bauer used to live with Elijah. So they'd taken his body and hidden it in probably a location known to them, but that's one of the reasons why Katrina Bauer has been charged with obstruction. Jesse Vang, who is the person who was incredibly cruel to Elijah, and the charging documents in Jesse Vang's case are absolutely heartbreaking. And I mean heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. I read them. They're on this. They're either this channel or on Michelle Walks. I can't remember what channel. I read the charging documents and just horrible. He was torturing this little boy in the name of discipline. So Vang faces felony charges on physical abuse through repeated acts causing death, hiding a corpse, and chronic neglect. Neither of them have been charged with murder, which is interesting that he's not been upgraded to murder. So whether they will be, I don't know. I mean, things are going very slowly in this case. So his next court date is June 20th. Well, that's been and gone. That's way been and gone. So this is the most recent piece I can find, though. Vang is represented by Bauer and Vang have been incarcerated in Manitowoc County Jail since February 2024, when they were arrested. So neither of them have pled out. Bauer has been offered a plea deal. It's unknown at this point what that plea deal entails. Maybe it's to snitch on Vang. Maybe maybe the plea deal has been offered to Bauer because they know that she's not responsible for his death other than leaving him with Vang. So she's the lesser of two evils. It's a bit like Kayla Montgomery, if you remember Harmony Montgomery's case, where Kayla Montgomery knew and in some ways was complicit to the murder of Harmony Montgomery, but she didn't actually do the murdering. So they gave her a deal in order to get her to snitch on Adam. So then they could get Adam for murder. So I'm wondering whether they're trying to get Bauer to snitch on Vang and then they can charge him with murder. Maybe they just don't have enough evidence to charge him with murder right now. So that's the latest that I could find on Elijah's case. So September 26th for a status conference on Katrina Bauer. So, yeah, I'll continue to follow that. Right, we'll get this back up so that once they come back, have they turned the volume off now? Yeah, they have. They've turned the volume off now. I'll just see if I can find anything more recent on Elijah. I'll search for Jesse Vang. Wisconsin are pretty open with the court stuff, so I should be able to find him, but I don't have time right now. Okay, all right. So we've got a more recent update here. Oh, what's going on? What are you giving me? Choose how we use your personal information. I don't care. Do whatever you want. All right. So no trial date set for Jesse Vang. This is from June. So this is after his status conference, which I missed. Okay. So no trial date was set Friday for Jesse Vang. The man who reported Elijah Vu missing is now charged with causing his death and hiding the 3-year-old's body. Vang charges 4 charges: physical abuse of a child, repeated acts causing death, hiding a corpse, obstructing an officer, and chronic neglect of a child. His attorney, Jeffrey Jensen, said in court on Friday he's still reviewing the evidence in this case. Another status conference is scheduled for September 26th. Vang didn't participate in Friday's hearing. All right. So they're both in court on September 26th. Both of them are in court on September 26th. So that's convenient. That's convenient. We can do both of them together, assuming that it is televised. I mean, obviously the court cameras are on. Vang reported the child missing February 20th, 2024. As we know, Bauer and Vang were both jailed on child neglect charges soon after. Prosecutors said Bauer sent her son to stay with Vang, her boyfriend, for disciplinary reasons. To make him a man, she said. He's 3 years old. She sent him to Jesse Vang to make him a man. You know, so a little bit of tough love. In September, a man preparing his land for the hunting season found his remains on private property. Doctors have examined the boy's remains, determined the toddler suffered from physical abuse, psychological and emotional maltreatment, as well as neglect. Healed fractures on his skull and face were found by doctors. These remains were skeletal. But even though the remains had been lying out there, they were still able to see that a little baby Elijah at age 3 had healed fractures on his skull and his face. So his skull and his facial bones had been fractured and they'd shown signs of healing. So this is not just a one-off event. This is chronic abuse. Because if bones show signs of healing, it means that injury happened, well, with enough time for bones to show signs of healing. Absolutely horrendous. So what I think, this is just my speculation, what I think is they're offering Katrina Bauer a plea deal for her to snitch on Vang and then they'll charge him with murder. That's the feeling I get. That's the feeling I get. But absolute pair of monsters. So that's Katrina. There's baby Elijah. Cute as a button. Imagine. Oh. And there's Jesse Vang. Evil. Evil personified. Evil personified. View all photos. Let's look. Do we really want to see them all? Oh. don't know what they are. Are they even connected to the case? There's his mugshot. He looks evil, doesn't he? He just looks evil. There's a mugshot. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Terrible. So that's a case out of Wisconsin that we'll continue to follow. He does look evil. Absolutely. Oh, are we talking about Chandra is her name. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Chandra Van der Ark. Yeah, she does. She wants a new trial. She's got absolutely no chance. No chance of getting a new trial. Zero chance. Zero chance. It ain't going to happen. She's one who thinks she's really clever. Van der Ark. Chandra Van der Ark. They all say they want a new trial. They all do it. There's no way she'll get a new trial. The judge was more than fair in her case. He was actually very kind to her. You know, do you remember when she gave evidence and then she was sick? She was sick while she was giving evidence. And it was all just fake. The judge was very kind to her. There's no way in the world she'll get a new trial. And if she does, even if she does get a new trial, the conclusion is going to be exactly the same. Like all those text messages that she had with Paul, I mean, they tell the story. They tell the entire story. So she's got no chance. Zero chance of getting a different outcome. Even if the wind went in her favour and she got a new trial, there's no that would let her go based on the evidence that they've got against her. Sandra Van Delusion. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, judge is back. I'm going to mute out right now. Here comes Megan. Here she comes. That prison jumpsuit looks good on her, though. You've got to admit. It looks good on her. Volume's gone up, yeah. Yeah, it has. It has, because they're not talking. Once they start talking into the court mics, it'll go quiet again. It's the mics that they're using. I don't think the mics were even on, honestly. I don't think the mics were even on. But as long as we can hear Judge Goodwin, you have to hear them shackles, yeah. So do I. The front of the jumpsuit stripes don't line up. Get into it, Jay. Really? I hadn't noticed. She was already sentenced for the murder. She was already sentenced for the murder, but there's a whole bunch of other charges. She had 19 charges total. So it's the sentencing on the other charges. And it will determine whether Megan will get the possibility of parole after 51 years or not. So that's the decision that the judge needs to make today. So she's going to be like 70 by the time she gets out anyway. Based on that, she was given life, but with the possibility of parole after 51 years for the murder. But even if she goes all the way and gets the possibility of parole, it doesn't necessarily mean to say she will get parole, because she'll have to take accountability for what she's done. So there's that as well. All right, muting out. Judge is back. What I'll also just say quickly is Court TV is a minute behind everyone else, but I put Court TV on so that I can put the CCs on. When the volume's low, you get the option of doing the CCs. All right, muting out.
In determining the appropriate sentence for these offenses, the court has considered the evidence presented at the trial at this sentencing hearing. Pre-sentence report filed April 4th, 2025, more than 10 days ago. The principles of sentencing and arguments made as sentencing alternatives, the nature and characteristics of the criminal conduct involved, the evidence and information offered by the parties on mitigating and enhancing factors, any statistical information provided by the administrative officer of the courts as to sentencing practices for similar offenses in Tennessee, located at www.tncourts.gov, and any statement the defendant has made on her own behalf about sentencing and the defendant's potential for rehabilitation or treatment. I'm not sure if it was agreed, but the defendant's a range 1 standard offender under Tennessee felony classification laws. And what that means, the aggravated child abuse and neglect charges are Class A felonies, and as a range 1 offender, those would carry somewhere between 15 and 25 years. The tampering with evidence is a Class C felony. The range would be between 3 and 6 years. False reports are Class D felonies, where with the range 1 being 2 to 4 years. The abuse of the corpse is a Class E felony, and failure to report death under suspicious, unusual, and unnatural circumstances, also a Class E felony. Those Class E felonies for range 1 would be a range of 1 to 2 years. In determining where the appropriate sentence should be within that range, while not mandatory any longer, the enhancement factors and mitigating factors are advisory for the court. The state has urged in its filing state's urged number 3, enhancing factor 3, that the offense involves more than one victim. I think for purposes of this case and all the proof that I heard, I can understand how that argument could be made. I'm not going to find that enhancing factor number 3 applies. Enhancing factor number 4 is urged by the state. A victim of the offense was particularly vulnerable because of age, physical or mental disability. I think that will apply. Testimony was that baby Evelyn was, everybody keeps saying 15 months old. I think she was 15 months old when she was found. My recollection of proof was that she was approximately 13 months old when she went missing. Is that wrong?
She was, her approximate age at death was 15 months old.
At death?
At death.
Okay. So she was 15 months old.
was 13 years, 13 months old at death. It was 15 months old, they assumed when she was reported. When they didn't know she was alive or dead.
So at the time of her death, she was somewhere between 13 and 15.
Yes.
The state has, and the court accepts enhancing factor number 4. Number 5 is urged by the state. The defendant treated or allowed a victim to be treated with exceptional cruelty during the commission of the offense. I don't know, and I'm not going to sit here all day and regurgitate the facts from the 11-day trial. But thinking back on the proof that I heard, there can be no more cruel act than to stuff a 13 to 15-month-old baby wrapped in blankets and aluminum foil head first into the trash can. Especially when that 13 to 15-month-old baby is your baby. So the court accepts number 5. Number 6, the personal injuries inflicted upon or amount of damage to the property was particularly great. The court accepts number 6. There's no greater injury that you can inflict on another human being than death. Enhancing factor 10 was in the filing. The defendant had no hesitation about committing a crime when the risk to human life was high. The court accepts number 10. And then 14, the defendant abused a position of private trust. And again, the relationship between mother and child, there can be no greater private trust on this earth than that. So the court accepts number 14. Those are all the enhancing factors that were urged, all the ones that the court, after having looked through them, believes applies. Next, I have to consider mitigating factors in determining the appropriate length of sentence. And again, I'm not going to read, there's 12 statutory mitigators under 40, 35, 113. I'm not going to read all of these in. The defense didn't put any arguments forward as to any mitigating factors that should apply. The court, though, is required on its own, after having read the pre-sentence report, heard the proof, to apply any factors I think are applicable. So there's at least one that could be applicable, and I'm going to talk about it for a moment. If the defendant, because of youth or old age, lacks substantial judgment in committing the offense, the proof is that she was 18 when the killing occurred. But I also have to look at, so there's no question that she was a young adult. But I also have to look at all the other proof and circumstances surrounding the case. And it became very clear to the court upon hearing the evidence that the defendant, in her mind, saw a chance to lead a different life than what she thought she was going to be leading. And quite frankly, circumstantially, from all the proof, baby Evelyn was a stumbling block to leading that life. So she made the decision to remove that stumbling block. And because that's the tenor of the proof that this court heard, I reject mitigating factor number 6. she exercised judgment. It wasn't good judgment, but she exercised judgment in doing the things that she did. So of the 12 statutory mitigators, the court doesn't find that any are applicable to this case. The 13th is any other factor consistent with the purposes of the chapter. And courts regularly, if a person comes to the court without a substantial criminal history, courts regularly include that as factor number 13. If a person comes before the court and they've had a long, productive work history, then that factors into 13. If they've had military service, those are the kinds of things that factor into 13. In this case, Ms. Boswell, she did not have a long work history. In fact, the pre-sentence report said, she stated that she'd only ever had one job in her life, and that was at the chicken shack where she was working right around the time of this killing. I am going to give her credit for not having, even though she was only 18, I'm going to give her credit for not having a substantial criminal history, either as an adult or a juvenile. So, the court weighs all the facts that I've heard during the trial, all of the testimony that we've heard at this sentencing. When the court weighs the enhancing factors and the mitigating factors, that's how I arrive at a verdict, or not a verdict, but a sentence. I want to talk about each of these counts individually with regard to the enhancing factors. Because if an enhancing factor is part and parcel of a charge, then it can't be used as an enhancing factor. So for count 4, aggravated child abuse, the state has to prove that the defendant knowingly, by other than accidental means, treated a child under 8 years of age in such a manner as to inflict serious bodily injury. The court is of the opinion that number 4 still applies because of the tender age of the child at the time. It's one thing to be a child under 8 when you're 6 years old or 7 years old. It's quite another thing to be vulnerable because your age is still literally being counted in months. So the court finds number 4 applies. Number 5 is not an element, it applies. Number 6 applies due to the death is not an element of aggravated child abuse or aggravated child neglect. 10 and 14 apply. So the court finds that they all apply. The counts 4 and 5. So the court's of the opinion in that Class A felony that the enhancing factors and the aggravated nature of this case in general take that sentence from 15 to 25 years. And when the court weighs quite frankly, each of these enhancing factors, with the exception, number 4 has low weight because of its similarity for those two counts, to the charge. 5, 6, 10, and 14 have great weight. The court affords very little weight for the fact that Ms. Boswell, at 18 years of age, had no serious criminal history. So the court's of the opinion, in counts 4 and 5, that the sentence should be 25 years. The court's also of the opinion that count 5 merges into count 4. In the tampering with evidence, the court's of the opinion that all the enhancing factors should be afforded great weight, and the sentence should be 6 years. The mitigating factor, which is the court's giving very little weight, would not bring it back down. Now, with the false report, the court's of the opinion that the enhancing factors would take that sentence from 2 up to 4 years. And again, there being only the one consideration of the mitigator, it'll be 4 years. Under the case of State versus Smith, Tennessee Supreme Court, 436 Southwest 3rd, 751, handed down in 2014. Justice Holder, I believe, delivered the opinion of the court. And the opinion of the court was that due to the principle of lenity, not leniency, that a false report, because the legislature was ambiguous as to how they think that a false report should be punished, that the unit of prosecution isn't determined by the number of individual and distinct occurrences of false statement, but that the unit of prosecution is whether a false statement was given pursuant to a particular incident or offense. At least that's the way I read it. So it wasn't that it's a continuation of the interview. It's that the incident that is in the officer's concern is the disappearance of the child. And the Supreme Court says in that case that even if you tell 16 false statements about the disappearance of that child on different days and to different people and different variations of the story, it's still one incident. It's the disappearance of the child. So counts 7 through 17 all merge into one count. So they all merge, counts 8 through 17 merge into count 7. In count 19, the courts of the opinion the enhancing factors take that sentence from 1 up to 2 years. So that'll be a 2-year sentence. In count 20, and again, I'm weighing the lack of mitigators. In count 20, that sentence will be 2 years as well, for the same reason. Now, since I've already talked about merger, the courts of the opinion that counts 1, 2, and 3 would all merge into a single life sentence. So counts 2 and 3 merge into count 1. Now we'll talk about consecutive sentencing. In the state's filing, the state under 40-35-115 urged, and I think this might be a mistake, but urged number 2, that the defendant is an offender whose record of criminal activity is extensive.
And of course, ruling, I just so clarify, it wasn't a mistake, but at the time it was filed, we would have all the false report counts. Rely on that criminal history, obviously, since the court's stronger, more duplicitous than it exists anymore, so we're not relying on that.
The court objection. The court also relies on enhancer number 4 from the same statute, 40-35-115, that the defendant is a dangerous offender whose behavior indicates little to no regard for human life and no hesitation about committing a crime in which the risk to human life is high. Now that's what the factor says in the statute. But it's pointed out in State versus Taylor, (2017) Westlaw 2179952, also case numbers M 2015-02142-CCA-R3-CD. It's an unpublished case, but the unpublished case references published opinions. And the most important one that it references is State versus Moore, that quotes from the main case is the Wilkerson case, 905 Southwest 2nd, 933, Tennessee Supreme Court from 1995. And the Supreme Court, in determining the appropriateness of 40-35-115 enhancing factor number 4, states that in addition to what's stated in the statute, that a court must also find that a consecutive sentencing is necessary in order to protect the public from further misconduct by the defendant, and that the terms are reasonably related to the severity of the offense. So from the facts of this case, and again, I'm not going to just keep repeating it. Everybody who sat through that trial knows the facts that came in. The testimony during the trial was that child was suffocated. When you look at the pictures of how tightly this baby was wrapped in blankets and aluminum foil, and the mechanism of being stuffed into that trash can head first, there's no doubt in my mind that this defendant had absolutely no hesitation when she killed her daughter. And in hearing the proof during trial of how she continued to live her life, and from hearing the proof circumstantially as to why she might have done this deed, because this new boyfriend is the life that she wanted to grasp onto. It's like the state said, the house on the lake. A lifestyle that she wanted for herself. The fact that Evelyn was just in the way. And looking at all the video that we saw during the trial, this court never once saw remorse, never once saw empathy out of the defendant. So she is a dangerous offender. The circumstances surrounding the commission of this offense are absolutely aggravated. This baby couldn't care for herself. This baby had the only life this baby knew. The only way this baby could get through a day was through her mom. And I understand that the way the parole system is set up when dealing with a life conviction is that she has to serve 51 years before she's even eligible for consideration for release. And Mr. Scott asked the question during his argument, which was the right question to ask. Is Megan Boswell at 69 years of age coming out of prison a risk to society? And the only conclusion that I can come to after hearing the proof in this case, seeing the evidence in this case, seeing how utterly unconcerned with the fact that she took the life of a 15-month-old child, her own child. The court has to answer that question, yes. That society does need to be protected from the evil that lurks in her heart. And then would the aggregate length of the sentence reasonably relate to the offense which she stands convicted? For the same reasons I just said, yes is the answer. So the court finds that all those sub-factors, if you will, are met. And I want to read a passage. And I think the state may have, but I highlighted this yesterday when I read the case. In State versus Durantes, 331 Southwest 3rd, 370, at page 376, the Tennessee Supreme Court in 2001 it's found that the dangerous offender classification was satisfied where a defendant demonstrated extreme callousness toward the health and welfare of the child victim, and that the results of that callousness were fatal. It's almost as though that passage was written to describe this case. Therefore, the 25-year sentence for the merging counts of aggravated child abuse and neglect will be consecutive to the life sentence. The 6-year sentence for tampering with evidence and the 4-year sentence for false report will be concurrent with each other, but consecutive to the 25 years. And the 2-year sentences for the abuse of corpse in count 19 and count 20 will be concurrent with each other, but consecutive to the 6 years. So in counts 4 through 20, that'll be a 33-year sentence as a range 1 standard offender, consecutive to her life sentence. The court has considered probation. She's not eligible for probation on the Class A felonies. That 25 years has to be served by statute. The court has considered probation on the additional 8 years and finds that a grant of probation would depreciate the seriousness of this case, given the facts of this case, given the fact that she has shown no remorse, she has shown no empathy towards this child, her child, and probation in those counts will be denied. Mr. Scott, I believe at sidebar, you had indicated that you would like to have a transcript prepared before, in order to prepare the motion for new trial.
Yes, Judge.
I'll order that transcript, whatever order I need to sign, share, I'll do it.
Judge, I would also like to have this sentencing period as well.
Sentencing hearing will need to be typed up with them. We'll set this for status. We'll send Ms. Boswell back to TDOC. And let's set this for a status on January 16th to see where we are on getting the transcript prepared.
That's fine, but I'll wait Ms. Boswell's appearance. If that-
Well, what I prefer her to do is appear by Zoom.
That's
If
fine.
if she can, but if not, yes, we'll.
Okay.
All right. All right, that's all.
Hi, Megan. Nice to see you. Wouldn't want to be I think that is justice. I think that is justice for Evelyn. Absolutely. Prosecution, Cassie. All right, so just to summarize, she'd already been given 51 years for the murder, but now, given all of the lesser counts, the way that he's worked it all out, she's got the 25 years consecutive to the 51 years, which takes it to 76 years. And then there's a whole bunch of lesser counts. Some of those he's also added on. So overall, she is only eligible for parole after 84 years. So by my reckoning, she's going to be 100 years old, or at least close to it, before she's even eligible for parole. So, given that healthcare in the prison system isn't the best, unless Megan Boswell has an unusually long life, an unusually healthy life, then she is never, ever, ever going to see freedom again. Again, ever. So, yeah. Justice is served for little baby Evelyn. Judge Goodwin, really like him. I liked him through the trial. He's a plain speaker. He says what he thinks. He made a record. He went to great lengths there making a record. He was holding us all in suspense, but he's making a record very, very deliberately as to how he's arrived at that sentence. So, very good judge, and goodbye. Good riddance, Megan. There's another monster that Sullivan County, Tennessee doesn't have to worry about. Anybody who loved baby Evelyn during her life, who has missed her and has mourned her, doesn't have to worry at any time in the very, very near future that Megan Boswell is going to be eligible for parole. It's off the table. It may as well be off the table. There's no way that Megan is going to live for 84 years in prison. Hopefully prison justice will take over, but yeah, good day's work there for Judge Goodwin. Justice was served, and I don't say that lightly, because very often I don't feel that we get justice, certainly in my country, when sentences are notoriously lenient. I don't often say that justice has been served, but in this case I think it has. So, good stuff. All right. With all that said, I'm going to bid you farewell, and hopefully it won't be another 3 weeks before I come live again. If anybody's following the Lillian Jack case, not many people have watched it because it's about search dogs, but I did put a video out this morning. It's in response to Lillian Jack's case. However, it applies to pretty much any case where there's a missing person and where dogs are deployed. So different types of search dogs, the difference between ground scent and air scent. So go and check that out if you want to have a little bit of a 101 education into search dogs. I know I've talked about search dogs a lot across different cases, but I've put a bunch of information together, so hopefully that'll be useful, not just for Lillian Jack's case, but also for any case where there's a missing person and dogs are deployed. So thank you to Christina, and thank you to Purple AJ for donating, and welcome to the 10 new members, courtesy of Purple AJ. And yeah, I'm out of here. A whole bunch of people who've been long-term members as well. 35 months, 23 months, nearly OG there. 46 months, 24 months. So you got your OG badge CC. We got 36 months, 34 months, 41 months, 25 months, 25 months. There's so many long-term members. 34 months, 25 months, and 33 months. All right. Thanks as always to the mods. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I'll see you then. Bye, guys.